This video is brought to you by Sailrite. Visit sailrite.com for all your project supplies, tools, and instructions. In this video, we're going to show you how to install the Sewable Boat Vent 4.
First, we need to cut a reinforcing patch for the underside of the cover that is about 8 inches by 8 inches here. And I like to use a hot knife because I am not going to create a hem on the edge of this. I'm using the serrate edge hot knife. This keeps the edges from unraveling. So this is only a sample of how to put in the boat vent for sewable vent. So let's pretend this is the location where we want that vent installed, and this is the underside. So I'm going to baste this patch at that location, and I'd like to make sure that these edges are parallel with the edge of the cover, or as parallel as they can be. So I'm going to apply basting tape to the underside of this patch and baste it at that location. Now we'll peel off of the transfer paper, revealing the glue. So we're going to baste this in place over our location just so we can hold it in place while we sew it so it doesn't move on us. So if this were a large cover, this is just a sample piece, you would scroll it so you can get underneath the arm of the sewing machine nicely. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to sew around the perimeter. Remember, this is the underside, and I'll do a little bit of reversing here at the beginning. And then we'll sew about an 1/8 inch to a 1/4 inch from the raw edge of the fabric. When we reach the corners, we'll bury our needle, we'll lift our foot, we'll roll the fabric around and sew down the next side. So we're going to cut a circle in here that's 2 3/4 inches from here to here. This is the boat vent 4, and you can see it's very pliable. That's one of the nice things about this, is it isn't a hard plastic, which can sometimes damage surfaces. Now, you don't sew through the top, you sew through the base. So what I'll do is I'll unscrew it from that base. And this is the top and this is the base. So the base will be sticking up like this and go around our hole, and we'll sew around the perimeter. So first I'm just finding the center of our reinforcing patch where we want it installed, which is right there. So this is the center. And then I will use my Sailrite canvas patterning ruler, and we will place an awl at the center location. And I'm going to poke it into the table because I have a table that doesn't matter. So we have holes that are 1/4 inch apart, so I'm going to go 1 1/4, and I'm going to mark a circle. I'm going to put the tempered cutting glass for hot knife underneath it because I like to have a hot knifed edge, and then I'm going to cut around this circle with the hot knife. This will cut through both the cover fabric and the reinforcing patch that we sewed on the underside. The hole doesn't have to be perfect. Okay, we probably should have measured it before we cut it out. It needs to be 2 3/4, and I'm 2 1/2. So I'm just going to cut around the perimeter, making it a little bit bigger with the hot knife. So if you take a look at the boat vent, you'll see that there's a little opening here with an arrow. See the arrow here? And that opening helps us to basically turn this around our hole. So I started on the underside of the canvas, and I position that opening like that. And what you want to do is just roll it in position, just like you would a clock going clockwise. See how it's rolling into position and taking in the fabric as it goes? And that is all there is to it. It's in place. And the fabric is well within here, so it's going to be almost totally leak-proof. So that's the top side, and that's what it looks like on the underside before we sew it. When you're sewing through this type of rubber, you're probably going to need a little bit more tension, so I'm going to do 1 full revolution or 2 half revolutions just to increase the tension, because the thread has to be pulled up through the rubber. You can see the presser foot on this side is a little bit further out and the presser foot on this side is skinnier. So because the presser foot is skinnier on this side, I'm going to sew with the plastic up against this side of the presser foot. If your side on this side were skinnier, I'd sew on that side, doesn't really matter. The flange is here. I can feel the flange around here, so I'm just going to use the edge of the plastic as my guide to sew around this circle. Now, I'm not going to do any reversing at the beginning. I'll do reversing when I reach the end. But as long as I just keep that presser foot up against that circle and make changes as I go. I may have to reposition my fabric if this were a big cover. Just want to go slow. Now I've reached the beginning point and I will do some reversing here, going over my previous stitches by about an inch or so. And she is installed. So this is our top side, and if you look at the bottom side, you can see we still needed a little bit more tension than what I applied, but this is going to be totally sufficient. So now all you need to do is screw on the top of the boat vent 4, which is completely sewable, and your vent is installed. It'll come down hard. Nice flexible vent that when the cover is stored or if it's rubbing up against the cover or beating against the cover, it's not going to cause damage because it's got so much flex to it. My favorite support pole is a Camlock support pole. We do stock another one as well, but this is by far my favorite. So you can take this pole out and it has a swedge on this end, and on this end it has a snap. So you decide which end you want to put in. We want to put the swedge inside the pole, and it has a great cam lock that is very, very strong, and it's also adjustable, so you can adjust it for a variety of grips. So once it's in place, what I like to do when I'm using the boat vent 2, boat vent 4, whichever boat vent you have, is unscrew the snap on the top. I'm sure you could leave the snap on, but why do that when you're not using a snap for your cover application? So now you've got a nice flat surface, and then this cover, which is just a sample, would go in, or the pole, I'm sorry, would go into the boat vent 4 from the bottom, and it's a nice, beautiful fit. So here's a quick view of the sample of the boat vent 4 installed on the fabric with the Camlock support pole on the bottom side. Great ventilation for your boat cover.
Order the Sewable Boat Vent 4 at Sailrite today. From all of us here at Sailrite, thanks for watching.